Derek did really drop the bombshell. I mean, it's like, guess who the CFO is? He's the guy that was the CFO for Gizmondo Europe. That was just like, oh my fucking god, they hired him again.
It's quite complicated to get working. I know there was a fair amount of skepticism out there. We've got to earn the belief. The game wasn't built.
Haven't had an opportunity to work on them, but they are in the works.
Refactor them, change things out, retrofit it, refactor them, refactor them. People program things.
This is bullshit.
This is Star Citizen ARGcast, episode 12. It is May 12th, 2018. I'm sitting here with Bootcha of Sunk Cost Galaxy fame. Check out that video, guys. And TheAgent. What's up?
Doing well.
Hello. Just drunk enough to do this. It's awesome.
Thank you for the reminder. Time to open a second one. So, last time we left off, what were we talking about? We were talking about, I don't know, their inability to deliver?
What? Oh, just that small thing? Really.
So, I mean, like, you know, we talked to TheAgent, and for people that don't know, TheAgent is one of our special guests on the SA forum thread that occasionally pops in and relays some things that have been told to him. And to get into one of them, which had us, you know, wishing for confirmation on this, whether or not it'll ever surface, was the AMD letter.
Oh man, I think that was the first real leak I ever did, and that was a long time ago.
So I guess for context, it was so CIG had partnered with AMD to the point where they even had a special spaceship variant. I think it was for the Mustang. So the Mustang had a special AMD version that you can only get if you bought an AMD graphics card, I believe. It was either a graphics card or a chipset. I want to say graphics card.
It was, I think, with the R9s maybe or something like that.
And so this was probably back towards 2014, 2015, back when they still had that deal. And so obviously that deal has fallen through because CIG is now partnered with Intel, you know, their rival competitor. And so the reason for dropping that endorsement or that partnership has always been kind of a weird thing to think about. You know, like, companies go through partnerships ever so often for a product, and once that product's done, you know, they say, hey, it was great working with each other, go their separate ways. This is in the middle of production, so something happened.
Well, you got to remember, this was not supposed to be the middle of production. This was supposed to be the end of production and a product already released by 2015 or 2016. I believe this was the 2015 E3. I think it was. It was the 2016. Sorry, it was the 2016 E3. And so I like to drink. I love video games. It's two of the things that everyone in my personal life hates about me. So I went to E3 in 2016, and people who go to E3, a lot of it, I don't know if it doesn't matter if you're into games, but if you've ever been to like a business conference or anything like that, you go out to these hotels where everyone is staying, right? And everyone has their per diem. So, and a lot of the times they say no alcohol in per diem, but you do it anyway. So you get a bunch of alcohol, and people are sitting there, people are drinking, and they just start talking shit, or they make a funny thing, and you just like hear about it or whatever. So that AMD letter, I was sitting there at this bar, and I overheard a guy start talking, and he was at AMD, and so we started talking about Star Citizen, which at that point, I think I had just started following. I think I started following Star Citizen about late 2014, 2015 when it started getting really big. Like that was like the next, like, and I saw it on Kickstarter. I backed a lot of Kickstarter stuff. But I you know, another space video game, I've been burned. I mean, this should like tell you how many like times someone has said, I'm going to release the one true space game in the world, and they'll bow down before my fucking space game. Every fucking person will love my space. And they release, and it's like, oh, Tachyon the Fringe. Wow. That's really not a great game.
Well,
So
late
You take that back.
sorry,
late 2014. Late 2014, Elite Dangerous actually released and was playable as like a final product. So this
Right,
kind of
and-
kicked everything into high gear where, you know,
Right,
I was just minding my own business watching Twitch streams and all these toxic Star Citizens show up, start, you know, just going nuts over anybody playing Elite Dangerous.
Yeah, and so this for me too. This was like one of those things where I was going, okay, so there's this Star Citizen thing. It's getting pretty big, and Elite Dangerous was pretty. And I love space games. I love all games. I love playing all types of games. Anyway, so I started following it, and then I started posting on the forums about it just a little bit here and there. And anyway, so I'm sitting at the bar. I've heard about Star Citizen. I've actually started following the threads and all the crazy stuff that's been going on. And I overhear this guy talking that he's the AMD guy. Now, Bootcha, you mentioned that they had a cross promotion with the video cards and getting a Star Citizen chip,
Yeah.
which they did. But Chris Roberts himself was at E3 2014 and 2015,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even 2013, at the AMD booths there, saying some wild shit about AMD, like, oh, when Star Citizen comes out very soon, you'll be able to play it with an onboard graphics card. Maybe not at high settings, but definitely medium to low settings. You'll be able to play with an onboard graphics card from AMD. And he had the little box right there, and he's like, hello, AMD, hello. So this, he was shilling for them. I mean, he was basically an AMD commercial. I think a lot of people bought AMD stuff because of that.
He was dancing for his dinner, yeah.
Yeah, and I totally get it. People have to partner with it and do this shit all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I've hoarded myself out. If I liked it or not, it doesn't matter. I still got the money at the end of the day.
Mhm.
It's great. I don't care.
Yeah.
And especially if you're doing it with a good product. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of AMD, but I think especially lately with like the Threadrippers and stuff, they've done a much better job. But in this case, so I'm sitting at the bar. To get back to the actual point at hand,
Yeah.
sitting at the bar, guy's talking about. I settle up next to him, start talking about this AMD thing, and he goes on this huge tangent about their PC Gamer Showcase, which was a little portion. If you don't follow E3 really, it was a little portion AMD was sponsoring that had like PC games, like the up and coming PC games that were going to be released within the next 9 to 12 months usually. So they'd show like demos of them. Like I think they showed Dual Universe last year. They showed like a lot of different games. So it was interesting to hear this guy's take. And he said that when they reached out to Chris Roberts and CIG, it wasn't Chris specifically, of course, but it was somebody at CIG who handled all the PR. They reached out and said, hey, what are you going to bring in for the PC Gaming Showcase this year? And they got stonewalled, it seemed, for a little while. And then they received apparently a disc. I'm not sure why it wasn't a USB stick, but why not? A disc,
Like a CD-ROM or
yeah,
a CD-ROM?
yeah. It was specifically. I think you mentioned a Blu-ray. I'm not sure about it, but I think it was like a Blu-ray. But even so, like, it's the weirdest thing in the modern age to put anything on disc, especially if you're. I mean, dude, get some encryption or something. But anyway, so then he's saying it just had all of the same stuff that people have seen already on it. So there was nothing new, nothing amazing about it. And so they just kind of shuffled off this stuff. And of course, like that happens. Sometimes when you ask for stuff from companies, you get something wrong back. And so you're like, okay, you must have sent us the wrong stuff, or is this the real thing? So that the gal there went and tried to talk to somebody at CIG, and this whole AMD letter thing comes back from the AMD, some people at AMD, very high level people, like even the chipset like manufacturers, like the guys in charge of like the actual printing of the chipsets, and some of the designers.
So the engineers.
Suddenly
like
receive
guys,
a letter or an email.
Get this letter from Chris Roberts talking about how everybody is like constraining him, and how he doesn't feel like he doesn't have enough room to breathe, and all this other stuff. And like it's I think there was a quote like his vision is too important to sacrifice, something along those lines. And I haven't seen this. The guy could have been talking completely out of his ass. But from what we know now, 2 years later, seems very Chris-like.
Oh yeah.
And more recently, you've talked about maybe the same person is behind the partnership, air quotes, with Intel.
Yeah, and that was really interesting for someone to drop on me. And they unfortunately they didn't give me the person's name, which would be really easy to confirm. Like, so sometimes, like when I get this stuff, I do just Google. I don't like go and verify, people's addresses and names and look at lanyards and stuff. But I do just, do a cursory Google, because why the hell not? They didn't provide me a name, but they did say that the person in charge of the AMD game promo for Star Citizen went to Intel and is actually working with the Intel promo guys and was trying to find a way to get Star Citizen back with the same kind of promotion, which turns out to be the what is it, the SSD that they have, the Optane?
The Optane, yes.
Yeah.
The Optane brick.
Dude, don't get me started. Like I'm a nerd for hardware and stuff, even though I barely game on PC anymore over the last couple of years. But I love that kind of tech shit. And I'm just like, why are you getting the fucking Optane? It's just way too expensive.
Well, somebody had to pay for the fucking Raven model that they had on display.
Well, not only that, but look at all the other shit they're doing. They're sending out $5,000 PCs with Intel Optane SSDs to streamers. I mean, that shit adds up, man. That's a $5,000 PC. I mean, you can say, okay, well, that was the price point for consumer, and we cut it down to like $2,800, and that's like the actual ship cost. But that's still expensive to use backer funds to give these guys to promote the game. And I've heard a couple people, by the way, in the Something Awful thread and around Reddit and some other places say that, oh, well, Chris never. He said that there would be no promotion stuff. There'll be no marketing used. Like every dollar will go to game development. He actually never said that. He said that it'll be a less dollar amount used than the AAA publishers, and he's right. I mean, there's also been that leak that said 60% of everything they get is going to marketing right now. So, which I don't know if that seems like a lot. But
well, I mean, how much does Turbulent take in?
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, probably not a lot if they're that pissed about not getting paid.
Oh yeah.
And again, talking out of my ass. I'm not saying I'm some great journalist. I'm not deep throating over here. So not yet, anyway. Give me another couple tequilas. So it's just this is all rumor, conjecture. Who knows? But talking to that guy, he seemed very straight. I know he works for AMD. I'm not sure if he was just pulling my chain about the AMD letter, but it seemed very probable at the time, and even more probable today.
It's a compelling story, and I'm still praying weekly that we see the AMD letter at some point.
I hope someone. I mean, honestly, if they didn't scrub that, if someone kept it, just send me an email, please.
That would be awesome. We got at least 20 people in the thread praying for that AMD later.
Yes. Yeah.
There's when I'm driving out to the beach, I pass this sign someone has. It has a picture of Jesus, and it says, "Perhaps today." And I have a couple of different attempts at photoshopping that idea. At perhaps today, the AMD letter will arrive. It's
right.
It's one of my things I've been trying to Photoshop, but it's I don't have enough things to Archer from.
So just by the way, remembering my E3 drunken period in 2016. Mm-hmm. So at different hotel bar, there was a lot of people discussing Shroud of the Avatar as well as Star Citizen, because if a lot of people don't remember, they were actually linked they're linked by Turbulent, but they're also linked by a couple of cross promotional items. I believe in Star Citizen you would get a crossbow.
That's right.
For backing Shroud the F, right? There was like a crossbow thing, and then in Stars or in Shroud of the Avatar, you would get a blimp, like a Star Citizen blimp house. Which,
now, curious
An
note:
airspace,
the inverse is you're supposed to get a crossbow in Star Citizen. The blimp in Shroud of the Avatar, fully implemented, works today.
Yes.
The crossbow, nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, nowhere to be seen. This was the same conversation. I think someone said they were like, because House of the Dying Sun that just came out, which is a space game, pretty decent one, pretty decent space shooter. And I think someone said like Star Citizen is the House of the Dying Fun. and that just rung so true to me. I mean, it really is, because you got to remember back then, I think we were at 2.41. I think in 2016, I think we were still at 2.4 sometime in April or May of 2016, and it was not a good game. I mean, no one could say. Everyone was waiting for 3.0. The Jesus patch is coming. It'll be actually 2.6. Sorry, 2.6 was the Jesus patch at the time. Yeah, that was 3.0 at the time, because they renamed, and as one of my leaks, it's hilarious. I actually, it's funny reading some of those Reddit posts, because they were like 3.0, yeah, right, 2.6 is coming, and then of course it's announced at I think it was Gamescom, right, that 3.0 is coming, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, well, we all knew 3.0 was going to be the next thing, so it's not even really a leak whatsoever.
And then it took a year plus for it to finally release.
Yeah, and then I'm like, yeah, that'll be in 2018. They're like, no, my friend, you'll find that's December, late December 2017, and so not 2018. So your leaks are shit.
Yeah, well,
shit.
I believe that leak was talking about 3.0 features shouldn't be expected before 2018 at the least. Here we are,
and as we're seeing.
Yeah, as we're seeing, mining, still not available. Trade, I don't know if you can call what's in the game at the moment trade.
Yeah, not between other players. I mean, when you talk about a real trading model, you're talking about, okay, handing over materials, money, who knows,
an economic model for actually encouraging people to do trading mini games.
Right,
you remind me of an interesting thing that Chris said on one of the older, what's that show he used to do, the 10 for the Chairman. He said they had an economic system basically that ran on one server that simulated thousands of star systems. I'll see if I can pull it up, but...
Oh, no, yeah, I remember that. We currently have something like 10 million interesting
AI agents.
People, doing whatever, and I was sitting there going like, what?
Now, was that like currently have, or we plan to implement?
No, he was saying they currently have.
Oh, God.
Yeah, there's people forget, like, who... I mean, it's weird because you see people on Reddit sometimes, or anywhere really, and they're like, I follow this game. I know everything about Star Citizen. I know. And then you're like, yeah, but Chris said this thing. And they're like, yeah, but that was back then. This is now totally fucking different, man. And I go, well, okay, so we can't trust anything Chris is saying. We can't trust anything people under Chris are saying, because Chris said, don't trust anyone besides me. Mm-hmm. Literally, he said that. So what are we supposed to do with this project? I mean, I want Star Citizen to come out. I think it'd be a blast. I would have a fun time if everything... He said it would basically be PlanetSide 3 is what it would be. So let's get the game out, Chris. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I'm one of, like, the few people that actually goes on record saying, no, Star Citizen needs to die.
Right.
So like,
We'll get to that in just a moment. Let me read that quote from Chris here off of Star Citizen QA. I'm going to summarize a little bit here. But he says, we actually have a full universe simulation that runs off a bank of servers. It just runs on one server and simulates about 20 million AI agents. It simulates the AI agents in a very high-level manner. I'm summarizing here a little bit, but it tells them you've got a mission, you can go here to there to complete the mission. So it's not simulating on the fidelity level that you would do in the actual game, but flying around. Anyways, yeah, that's basically it. He said they have it running. 20 million AI agents.
God, did somebody show him the defragging program? It's like, we got these little agents running around. It's the defragger, Chris.
So that quote was actually from 2015. And yeah, you'd think, hey, hook that up to the game itself, but no, it's taking a little longer than that.
I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point. The economy, trading, it doesn't matter since nothing actually persists.
Mm-hmm.
That you can get into a server and then all of a sudden you're in a different server and nothing you had before really. I mean, some stuff does and some stuff does. And this is why when people talk about, like there was, I think, a breakdown saying, hey, we're going to go down there and then we're going to trade and then we're going to have a firefight with a pirate and then we're going to do all this stuff. And someone's like, is that actually in the game? And they're like, yes, all that is in the game. Well, it is, except there's no point to doing any of it. It crashes half the fucking time. And then the other half the time you clip through the geometry.
Yeah,
so
it's a state of game development. Wish it had turned out differently. I mean, hopes in 2014, early 2014, were pretty high.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're used to people who play video games are used to delays. I mean, delays happen all the time. I mean, I think we were expecting Red Dead Redemption 2 sometime last year, and then it got delayed from June this year to October, November this year. We're used to that. We're used to a year and a half of delays. That's okay. But now we're staring down the barrel of a gun. And one of my earlier leaks from a long time ago talked about the real internal roadmap that they had for releasing the game. And I think that the beta or first MVP for Star Citizen was about 2021 or 2022, with Squadron 42 being a little bit like a year or two before that. I remember when I posted that in 2016, someone on Reddit shopped that around. By the way, I never post on Reddit. I never talk about my stuff on Reddit. I don't. So if you see somebody on Reddit pretending to be me, it's not me. But it was funny because now I look on Reddit and I browse these threads and people are like, oh, 2021, 2022 is the actual release date and you guys should get on board with that shit. When people were losing their fucking minds saying, dude, it's going to be here in 2017. Everything will be released. Look at all the stuff they showed us. Look at all these things. It's going to be here now. It's going to be here soon.
Answer the call in 2017.
I'd have to do a little bit of digging, but there was someone saying I was banned from or probated or whatever, from the Star Citizen RSI forums for saying the game will be out in 2017 at the earliest. He was banned under the reasons of fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh my God, do they actually have that as a rule? Do they have a fucking?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
A Bitcoin phrase. Oh God.
Yeah, it was real. I mean, you got to remember that all this. The problem was, I think, is that all these leaks, especially the 2016 leaks, the stuff that went on, all the people I knew left that worked there. Mm-hmm. And obviously, like when I started posting leaks about people replacing them, coming from internships or being very young, again, people
coming from DigiPen and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were like, no, these are our industry veterans that they're hiring with the greatest experience of the world, and everyone will bow down before their fucking programming greatness and blah blah blah. And then you go on now, and it's like some 19-year-old kid trying to grow a mustache, and he's like, yeah, I'm programming the AI model, and everything's gonna it worked out great.
I'm the team manager of the character animation.
I'm now CEO of the company. Yay!
It is a little bit startling to the critical eye of how some of these job titles have changed. Disco Lando, who was once some kind of outside fanboy, has become like the global front face of the company. Well, it's a little nuts.
So this goes back to a couple leaks. and I just, I don't want to get into things too personal, because sometimes when I drink too much, I post stuff that I probably shouldn't, and it's kind of cruel. And I regret that, but I tend not to go back and edit anything. I just want to keep a record of what I've posted and what it is, because no one could sort through it. It would take two journalists 6 years to sort through all my drunk posting on something awful to actually pick out anything worthwhile.
What do you think I've been doing?
Right. So here it is. So like, way back when we started talking about some of these leaks, and I started saying, well, they're hiring people that were backers. They're hiring people that backed for a ton of money. They're hiring them as artists. They're hiring them as designers. And people were like, oh, really? Well, what's your proof? Well, this was after Jared got hired. Disco Lando got hired. But you could see the transition now. There's been several artists on Twitter who are like, wow, I love Star Citizen. Now I'm going to work at Star Citizen. And then you see their next post and they're like, working is fucking hard. Like, this isn't as fun as I thought it was going to be.
I know of at least 2 of those tweets. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny, and then you have, recently you have and I'm not going to call her out by name, but you have a QA specialist who went into, I think now, art design, like lead art design or something around there.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of promotion, and I know most of the people working there are never going to hear this or read this or do whatever with this, so they think I'm bullshitting them. But I will tell you this: if you are unhappy in your job there, get the fuck out, because no one there is going to stand up for you. They're not your friends. The management of that company is not there to take care of you. And this kind of goes into something that I know Bootcha is going to talk about in the future, and that's Aaron Roberts, and who he poached from TT Fusion to come work with him at Foundry 42. He basically took every single person that said yes to him at TT Fusion, and went ahead and brought him into Star Citizen, because there's almost never-ending coffers at that point. And we're starting to see that dry up a little bit, I think.
Sure. Tell us more about Aaron. That escaped my notes. T Fusion as well.
Yeah. So let me try to remember exactly how the whole thing went down. But I think that he was at TT Fusion. Before that, he was at another company. Well, and before that, he was.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember my breakdown of that. So Aaron Roberts bounced around a lot. So he finished up, I believe, at Warthog, because the last project that I know he worked on was Brute Force, and that was after Digital Anvil collapsed. And that was a Microsoft, and I think he worked on a port of a racing game at some point. I think it was for the Gizmondo, because Warthog and Fever Pitch that Eric Peterson was at. I think they were doing stuff for the Gizmondo, and Aaron was part of that, I think, on the Warthog side.
Correct. So it was TT Fusion, which was renamed from Embryonic Studios. So they were all there at Embryonic, and Embryonic Studios was basically a rename of Warthog Games, and Warthog Games is a rename of Gizmondo Europe. And if no one here knows what fucking Gizmondo Europe is, and it's weird. Like Nick Elms and Derek Senior used to actually work at they've been a part of this for a long time.
Nick Elms, Simon Elms, Senior.
Yeah. So there. Again, don't trust me. Don't say, oh, the agent, wow, you're just, go look up TT Fusion, go look up Embryonic, go look up Warthog, go look up Gizmondo Europe, and go see where that craziness leads to, because to me, it's incredible. It's incredible. And these are the people that are taking your money. These are the people that are telling you to go buy a $600 ship with LTI. These are the same fucking people who scammed investors. I'm not just being like having hyperbole, but literally scam people, investors, out of hundreds of millions of dollars for a game console that would tank upon release because it was a piece of shit. Go back there and actually read about the history of what these people were involved in. Don't look at the future. Don't look at, oh, wow, maybe in 10 years Star Citizen will be this great thing. Look at what they produced in the past. and really think to yourself, wow, I'm comfortable giving $600 to a guy who scammed people out of their money back in the 90s. I mean,
Yes,
that's what you got to do.
That was actually part of the reason why I had that change of heart way back when I was an investor, when Derek did really drop the bombshell. I mean, it's like, guess who the CFO is? He's the guy that was the CFO for Gizmondo Europe. And I was just like, oh my fucking God. They hired him again! I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, and again, it's sort of like, oh, maybe this sign is actually legit. And from sources I know, Elms was on the level, he was an honest person. But, if he wasn't part of the scam, then he completely missed the scam, being a chief financial officer for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a part at which you can turn a blind eye and be complacent in it. And I mean, again, once we say scam, everybody, it isn't like a fucking joke. Oh, Star Citizen is a scam. No, Gizmondo Europe and Gizmondo in general was a real fucking scam. Go take a look at it. Go see for yourself. I mean, the dude who crashed his Ferrari going 170 miles an hour or whatever was right next to me in Newport. Yeah, I actually saw that. I saw it on the news, and I'm like, dude, how did that guy not die? And then he starts talking about, I mean, this is way old news. This happened a long time ago. But he was talking about, I wasn't driving my
that German guy.
Yeah, or some German guy was driving, a German auditor probably, and he was doing that, and he fled the scene.
Dietrich.
What the fuck? This really happened, everybody. There's news reports of this shit. Don't believe us. Do not listen to anything we're saying. Just go ahead and Google it yourselves. Go ahead and take a look at the news reports. This rabbit hole of what is happening currently with Star Citizen, and how much money they're taking, and how much money they're taking from you. I don't know honestly, I don't think it's a scam, because they've already delivered you the game. I know a lot of people say Star Citizen isn't released, or it's not going to be released. Star Citizen, in my opinion, is actually already released. You're playing Star Citizen, and everything that you're buying on top of it is a pre-order for a DLC pack that may or may not come. But you are playing the release of Star Citizen. Squadron 42, who fucking...
We'll see.
Now,
I think there will be a Squadron 42 episode released. I don't know about episode 2 though.
Oh yeah, that's been coming. That rumor has been for 2+ years that they're going to do a 2-hour release, and that's gonna be done.
The Squalude, right? The Squalude.
Yeah, the Squalude, and that got turned into I forget what leak it was, but it also has a new name now. It has some the final reckoning, or the return of Chris Roberts, or some shit on it now. But yeah, it's very interesting to see people complain that this is all an alpha, and to me, honestly, when I play Star Citizen, I'm like, this is the game they chose to release. I'm gonna base everything about Star Citizen on what I can currently play.
Now, a leak that you posted some time ago, 6 months ago, Reddit's telling me, talks about the shame that applies to all the developers every time they walk into the building. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was...
They talk about things here are dire. They've been dire for a while, but you can feel the shame and terror every time you walk into the building.
Yeah, that was the one with you can... they've accomplished their dreams, but you won't get yours, or something like that.
Have you heard anything else along those lines, or what's the sense of the building at the moment?
I will tell you this. I when the lawsuit hit, everyone
clammed up,
joked about this stuff. Yeah, everyone stopped talking any serious. I think the last real verified, semi-verified thing that I got, because it was somebody I knew of a friend, sent me that Chris Roberts stink thing, and I thought that was pretty funny. But otherwise, everything is just done. I mean, no one wants to say anything. No one wants to talk about anything. I mean, the last thing people want to do, it's worse going to Eurogamer or Kotaku UK or any of those other places and saying something like, oh, well, I don't think the development's going very well. That's already bad. If you get called up on the stand to talk shit about the company, you're 100% done. because that's in record now, not just on some rumor mill or some other fucking website that might get buried like Pixel Lemonade. I mean, this shit is 100% out there in record.
I mean, like, I would sort of argue in the sense that, I mean, like, I can understand. Like, if you go with the court just to shit talk everything, then yeah, you're going to have a different perspective. However, if you're ordered by court to come in and explain what the hell happened, then you honestly have to say, well, yes, this happened. You know, if you can avoid how do you feel about it questions or avoid answering those, you're kind of in the clear. But if you get called to court to do that, but you're also right. It's sort of like, going to the press, already a bad idea, yes. And also, you're right in the sense that this lawsuit has clammed up a lot of people, not just talking to media, but also talking to us. You know, my sources have kind of gone quiet ever since this lawsuit has hit, for good reason, because, you know, like, I try to take care of my sources as well, the same way that you do, and probably Derek does as well. That we make sure that we do not present any information that might track back to them.
Yeah, exactly. And also, too, it's like some of this stuff, it's so ridiculous that we have to crouch it with these guys because, I mean, not everyone loves their job. I mean, if you've ever had a job, you've had a shitty job. And to blow off steam, you would go out, you'd have a couple beers, whatever you want to do. You'd sit around and just talk shit with your coworkers, with people outside the company, with your friends. And this is the problem is that this is the same thing. People just come and want to talk about the issues they're having with work. But this also then gets back to the backers, and that instantly hits the cash flow. Once you start drying up the cash flow, there's a problem. So it's been, there's been just a shut of information coming out of the place since I think 2014 or probably 2015. They really started clamping down on people talking about the project. But after and now, not even from Chris Roberts or Sandy or whoever else, no one wants to talk about it because they don't want to get called up in court. They don't want to say, "Oh yeah, I leaked a bunch of stuff," or "Yeah, I talked about stuff," and I was under an NDA, which, by the way, they love at CIG and RSI. They're fucking NDA happy over there.
The recent leak about maybe there's $9 million left, Derek attributes it to an NDA expiring. Do you have any idea if these NDAs have expirations at all?
Oh, I'm sure they do. The usual, like in my area, an NDA and like a non-compete would go. I mean, the NDA could be in
perpetuity. In perpetuity.
There we go. I'm telling you, the tequila is really hampering my ability.
But usually that comes with a big payoff as well.
Yes. So you're going to get, and some of these guys did. Some of the people that left, even if they quit, they still got paid out to be silent about the current goings on there.
Yes, but sort of like the other thing that comes with it is your NDA is with the company that you signed it with. And if that company is liquidated, shut down, like bankruptcy, then that NDA no longer applies.
Correct.
So, I mean, this is kind of why I look at this as sort of like, oh, if CIG liquidates and shuts down because of bankruptcy, there may be something in my contract that I'm allowed to talk about now.
Huh. Well, obviously that hasn't happened yet. But I wonder.
It hasn't happened yet. And also, those NDAs could be under a different shell company, which is also a tricky thing to double check. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying sometimes an NDA is also kind of, depending on the information, difficult to enforce.
Yes.
Now,
but anyway, virtually, you're going to
they changing subjects a little bit here. The commonly held belief with believers and people who are still on board with the project is that they have 400 people employed. I've begun to question that probably about a year ago or more. What's your guys' take?
Well, I would say definitely with contractors, probably, above 400. Again, CIG is very notorious for outsourcing core game development. I mean, like I've alluded to, sort of like I think the Aaron Roberts UK studio is essentially a contractor just built by CIG. You know, you had Moon Collider, you have Ilphonic, you had CG Bot in the early days. I mean, you've had a ton of contractors. I mean, even people that worked for you that you didn't even acknowledge. Like I know of backers that have actually done actual work for the development team on programming stuff, like actually producing stuff for them, because none of the team working on some of the mechanics had any idea what to change. So yeah, they're probably, I'd almost say probably 500 people actually working on it that they. So
Yeah.
that's my guesstimate.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's less that how many they have working on it. I mean, to me, I think they have less than 200 people full time working on the game. I'm not talking about like back end staff who does taxes and you know, all the employee shit and their 401ks. I'm not talking about them, which you still need a pretty big support staff if you're running a company of 200-300 people. But their money every year just does not cover 400 or 500 employees to pay them out unless they're deferring payments somehow. They can't afford it. I mean, I know $36 million seems like a lot of money. $36 million is not a lot of money for 500 or 400 people. It's just not. It is not even break even money, especially in this business, unless you're getting talent in for half of what you normally pay. And they could be. I mean, this is why they're hiring people straight out of college. This is why they're hiring backers. This is why they're hiring interns and promoting them to full-time and then sometimes leads or in management. Because then instead of paying a manager $115,000 a year or $95,000 or however much you're paying them, around $100K, you're going to be paying them $36,000.
Yeah, I mean, like I could understand sort of like sweetheart deals in the early years, sort of like back when the budget was like 6.2 or 9 or 10 million. I could understand that, but when you're advertising that you've raised over 180 million, at a certain point, somebody's going to start asking, you know, hey, I'm working in Santa Monica. I can't live off of $40,000 a year.
Right.
I need a raise.
Yeah.
And then usually they're shown the door.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, if you're down working in the LA office, you better be pulling in 115 to 130 a year. Otherwise, you're poor. Unfortunately, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, and it is ridiculous, and everything else. But if you're in Southern California and you're in Santa Monica or you're in the LA area, your rent for a 1-bedroom or even a studio is going to be about $1,800 a month. And so, I mean, now you can go lower. You can go lower. But you're not going to start liking the areas that you're going into,
and you're not going to like the commute.
Yeah, and that's it especially. I mean, you can go out to Riverside or go out to the IE, but then you're talking 2.5 hours every morning to get to the office, and you're waking up at 3:30 in the morning. I've dealt with all this shit. It's just I hate it.
Yeah, I mean, like, but that was the initial idea about, you know, Texas was a lower cost of living, so that's where everything. Little bit of everything in LA, because Chris likes to have fingers in a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's it's a big problem. It's a big problem having people in LA. I mean, I don't know why they decided to have. I mean, I know why they decided to do it, because they were out here, and Ortwin was out here, and God, don't get me started on Ortwin again. And
Sandy had her dream to pursue as a Hollywood actress.
And by the way, people who are listening, backers or anyone else, literally she used company money, and that can be verified. That can be fucking verified to promote her own acting career. So try not to do this whole thing of, no, she was just this innocent girl who got, caught up in this. She literally took money that you gave her, that you gave Chris Roberts to make a space game, and promoted her own acting career. So and by the way, I have nothing against that, because honestly, if you're giving Chris Roberts money, he can do with it however he sees fit. But I want you to know that actually happened.
Oh yeah, and that's something I will get into in a future chapter. Actually, it'll be Lady Macbeth.
We're
Oh,
coming up here on the last 10-15 minutes of the show, but yeah, it's probably one of the more triggering points as far as backers go. Just not really requiring any work to be done, and just kind of willy-nilly allowing more time. Really cemented this project's place.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would ask Agent sort of like if we could go back in time. If I could somehow manage to wrest control of Star Citizen and Squadron 42 away from Chris Roberts, and instead give it to Aaron Roberts, would we have actually seen something better, or would we have seen more of the same?
No, it would have been exactly the same.
Do you think Aaron is that much cut from the same cloth?
Well, no, I think Aaron does very well when he is an employee, and he's been given timetables and deadlines and has his own. I mean, strange that it says has a publisher controlling what his milestones.
Yeah.
And when you give somebody, I mean, you got to remember Aaron. Everyone looks at Aaron and goes, "Wow, he released like 4 Lego games, so he's the guy to get things done with this crazy single player MMO of scope unforetold in the games industry."
Oh, certainly, that was sort of a line I was fed too.
Yeah, and then I look back at his previous career, and I'm like, oh, so you did stuff for Gizmondo, you did stuff for Warthog, stuff that never really panned out or was as good as was promised, and that was only because you had lines drawn in the sand saying you need to get this shit out right now. Now, I think that what would have happened if someone else took over, it wouldn't matter if it's Aaron or anybody else. I think they would have released and said, all right, here is Star Citizen, the MMO. What you're playing is what you get right now. No more of this pre-alpha bullshit. And cut their losses and just said, oh, by the way, Squadron 42, we still have some stuff to clean up. And they would have released it as like a 2-hour standalone preview and then just cut it and then cut their losses. Take the money and go home.
Okay. But would it have taken 7-8 years to do?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's no doubt in my mind when you're still filming mocap in 2015 for a game that's supposed to be released in like 8 months or whatever, I'm going like, no, I don't think so. And then when I remember one of another leak, sorry to keep bringing up leaks, was that I think I posted something about 18 hours of mocap footage, and I remember someone on Reddit who had saw that said there is no way Chris Roberts 18 hours of mocap footage is ridiculous, and he wouldn't have wasted blah blah blah. And then it turns out in one of the ATVs, so like, yeah, we have 20 hours of footage that we filmed, and it's like, well, shit.
And we're still going back.
Yeah, we're still going back for reshoots, and I mean, what is this?
Yeah, it's also really weird. I don't know how many people read this leak or whatever, but Sandy was also doing mocap data for female characters.
Yep, I've been to one of them.
Yeah, and so she's actually, and she was standing in, I think the one leak I had specifically was for Gillian Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
So they needed a new scene with her. So they were going to do her lines off-site in England somewhere because she was working on the fall, and they needed a new scene anyway. But Sandy was going to play her as Gillian Anderson did the lines. But this has happened more and more, is that Sandy is becoming the de facto female avatar. Yeah, and by the way, I have no problem with that. I mean, I think she should honestly get paid for, if she's working that way, she should get paid for it.
Right.
She should do all this, but don't people who follow this project don't say, oh, that's ridiculous, that would never happen, and they have our best interest. Dude, I gotta tell you, if someone says, hey, agent, I got a job for you, can you work on it? I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, just let me get paid my normal salary and I'll do this extra work for free. I'm gonna get more money for it.
But it's the funny thing, sort of like if you say Sandy's the de facto mocap stand-in, it's sort of like, wasn't this the original plan? And it's like back when we were at like 12 million, 13 million, and it took us to get to 180 million to do this.
Well, it's just not cheap. It's funny because like a lot of, I don't know where this whole thing of like I've seen it over the last couple of years of like video games are cheap to make and they're just scamming you because video games are so cheap and they're charging you $60. I've seen that a lot, and I will tell you, anyone who thinks that video games are cheap to make is fucking insane, and they have some sort of weird agenda they're trying to push on you. I don't know what the fuck it could be, but video games are not cheap to make, and they're not cheap to maintain. Now you can argue about loot boxes and a whole bunch of other predatory shit, but if you're honestly saying EA is a bad company for selling me this loot box for $4, but RSI and CIG is a great company for selling me a spaceship pre-order that I can't even open yet or fly or do anything while I get my loot box right away, and I pay $600 fucking for that spaceship, I don't know what the fuck your problem is. I mean, that seems so fucking way out of proportion and way wrong to me, but whatever, keep giving them money.
I think we're going to have to call it there for this episode. Go ahead and give me your outros.
This is Bootcha, and my God, I learn something new every day.
This is TheAgent, and I love blue cheese tacos.
Virtual Captain here, or just Virtual Captain. That's it for episode 12. Hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe we'll do another one. Stay tuned. Thanks for listening. See ya.